Hey everybody, this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey is brought to you by our title sponsor, NHL Sense Arena. Look, we all want our kids to succeed in hockey, but let's face it, finding training that's both effective and enjoyable can be a real challenge, and not to mention expensive and a total drain on time, especially if you have to drive to the rink, pay a private instructor. There's so many reasons that money gets spent on this game. But that's where NHL Sense Arena steps in. It's a virtual reality training game that brings the rink into your home that takes off-ice training to a new reality. It's designed to improve hockey sense and IQ, something that's lacking majorly in the game today for both players and goalies. And you get unlimited access to over 100 drills and training plans from top coaches and players that can be played anytime, anywhere, with drills approved by USA Hockey player and goalie development directors. Look, improving mental hockey skills at home has really never been more fun, and any hockey player that uses this is going to have a blast. All right. I've used this before on my own, and it feels like you're so immersed in an arena, you sometimes forget you have a headset on. And again, it's not being on the ice, but it allows you to work on some of these skill sets like scanning, as I said before, hockey IQ, looking around the rink, making the right plays, that getting those repetitions in now as a hockey player are super important for your development. So NHL Sense Arena is giving all the listeners an exclusive offer for $50 off an annual plan when you use our code Hockey Never Stops at checkout. Again, that's Hockey Never Stops. All you got to do is go to hockey.sensearena.com. Again, that's hockey.sensearena.com. Use the code Hockey Never Stops, and you'll save $50 on your annual plan of NHL Sense Arena. Make sure to check that out and enjoy this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Are you a crazy hockey parent? That is today's discussion topic. It's, are you a crazy hockey parent? Or as we uncover, are you just caught up in the crazy hockey atmosphere? Mike and I, tremendous discussion today. You're going to love where this one goes. Mike also has a surprise for you at the beginning of the episode that we uncovered pretty quickly, so make sure you listen. Also, we're into the season. We are booking quick here for team building sessions and team performance sessions, both digitally online and in person here. So if that's something you want to do for your team, have a 1 hour team talk or more, we do team building events. There's a lot of things we can do. Head over to game7group.com and check out some of our options, and just feel free to email me at lee@game7group.com, and let's set you guys up this year for a great team building event. Again, when I say team building, I don't mean going out to dinner. I mean really talking to the kids about accountability, about trust, about communication, all the things that going into be a team being really great, and the kids working together. We've had some amazing results with the teams we've worked with, which is really on them coming together and choosing to take that education on. So game7group.com, check out the options, or email me at lee@game7group.com. But without further ado, let's get into Our Kids Play Hockey with Mike and I talking about, are you a crazy hockey parent? Here we go. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Today's a topic that we're all going to want to talk about. It is the evolution of the crazy hockey parent. This has been inspired by you. We asked all of you for topics, and a lot of them were great, and we realized that we need to bring on some guests for some of them to make sure that we have an expert on the panel. But this is one I think that Mike and I are qualified to talk about. But before we get going, for those of you watching the episode, you might notice this, but our boy Mike's missing a tooth right in the front. He's got a Bobby Clark smile going on right now. He's covering his face, but it's there, Mike. It's there. We're going to own it. Mike, I think the viewers and the listeners are owed an explanation. What's going on there?
Yeah, so this is the perfect example of listen to your parents when you're 18, 19 years old, and you want to be a big boy and be a tough guy and wear a half shield, or at that point no shield. So back long time ago,
in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. Before Howie's made it popular, lost a couple of teeth. But I've had a rough weekend. Got to see a dentist. It's a holiday weekend, so we're gonna reach out to my friend soon in town and get it taken care of. But we'll try to muscle through today, and be using straw today, I guess.
Mike, the listeners are rushing to YouTube,
right,
to see what's going on here today. No.
Right.
Mike, you look beautiful. As we say in the game, you look like a beauty. Yeah, beauty. Okay, and you're owning that today. And I'll to give Mike credit, everybody, like he's owning it. He did say he's owned it today. He's coming on. Mike, to be fair, this is the perfect show to have that tooth out.
Yeah. Listen, if I was on I guess a different episode of something else, like good mouth guard episode, maybe it'd be
Good
better.
Morning
But I think
Connecticut. They wouldn't
yeah,
want you on with a tooth like that, or a
I
lack
did.
of
I did
it.
my. I did my. I did. Did this? This did happen to me already. I'm still waiting to get some other stuff done, and I'm sure there's some dentists in the crew that can DM me and give me some better advice. But I'm. I did open my junior ranger hockey camp a couple of months back with the same issue on the Monday
Yeah,
morning with
you're probably a hero to those
70,
kids.
70 parents in the hall trying to speak to them with not being able to use F's and speak properly. So you might, and on the bench you'll see me this way. It's my lineup card. Just a lot. There's a lot
Just
a
cover
lot
his
of
mouth
talking.
with it.
Come on, boys, let's go. We got to get going here.
Yeah, if this
We're
was a
good. And
funnier show,
we'll let it go. And
yeah, we'd have an F count if this was another type of show. But we're not going to do that to you today, Mike.
Yeah, let's keep away from the F's and the S's.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm not going to tempt fate by making jokes about how I have all of my teeth because I have a game tonight. And as the hockey gods know, I'm not tempting you, hockey gods.
Yeah.
But no, Mike, appreciate you.
Put a mask on unless you're getting paid a couple of $1 million a year.
It's not that much. Yeah. In fact, I think I pay a couple $1 million a year. I don't think I get paid anything.
Right,
But listen, we want to jump into this episode. I'm going to read the comment. And again, for those of you who jumped on that post about giving us some topics, I'm going to say it again. A lot of great topics on there, and just some of them we want to bring on a guest to talk about because I think it's the right thing to do. But this one, again, we're qualified to talk about. Tommy wrote this for the crazy hockey parents like myself. He admitted it. So we do have a crazy hockey parent that listens to the show. God bless you, Tommy. How serious to take the game and when? I want to know how and when to know. I find a lot of parents push very early because they're afraid of their kid getting behind. What is the right approach for your kid to have fun but not get left behind? Mike, that's a super fair question that opens up a whole discussion, and that's why we selected it today. So again, the title of the episode is The Evolution of a Crazy Hockey Parent. And I can see how this happens. I can see how someone comes in with the purest of intentions, and by the time they get to the U15, U18, they transform into a crazy hockey parent. I think we should define first, though, Mike, like what is a crazy hockey parent? Because I don't think we're talking about the one that runs down and hits the ref on the head, or the one that runs on the ice and starts fighting players. That's the extreme. That is the moronic hockey parent. There's no space in that for the game. I think we're talking about the parent that is crazy for their kid to the point that it's too much. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost the crazy hockey parent in this scenario is the one that realizes that what they're doing is really extreme. Yeah. Like what they're doing is like stuff that you like when you're sitting at a cocktail party and you're talking to other parents of non-crazy hockey parents, that they look at you like a little like you're doing what and you're going right. Where and you spend how much. Why? Like it's like, and I know in the hockey world, and I kind of get upset about this, but you see every weekend on Facebook and Instagram and other these social media sites, and people joke around like you see the meme of the house that has the the 7 foot tall grass, and they're like, oh, I'm a hockey parent, or Halloween is the only house in the neighborhood doesn't have decorations. I'm a hockey parent. The parent that says that, well, why what do you show me your calendar so we can get a day or a weekend where we can have some kind of family event. You say, no, sorry, I'm a hockey parent. So that to me is, and it's again, it's getting worse and worse and worse. These are all self-inflicted wounds. Like these aren't things that we all can't look at and say, well, we could easily avoid that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like I can avoid that, but we don't, right? Because in by definition, we're becoming a crazy hockey parent. So it's, I don't really, I probably looked at those, looked at these people. I'm a crazy hockey parent. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Like, I'm not a crazy hockey parent to the point of, I think my kids are at some kind of at some kind of elite level, but I am doing things that are outside the norm of a regular human being in travel and expenses and paying somebody, paying another company to sleep in their bed to, right. Fill up my gas tank and justify it, sit there and go, no, I don't know, $160 for a weekend of gas. That ain't so bad.
It could be worse. Crazy, Mike, or are you dedicated?
Well, I don't know. No, I don't think because I could be just as dedicated by being in my own rink in my own town for an hour out of my day and right. Not spend 2 or 3 weekends in a row in Boston or Rochester or Philadelphia or there is other ways to do it. But I think the conversation that this parent was having was more like, well, when, like, am I crazy? Like, do I need to be crazy? Like, the pressure from me to fall in line is really high because
Right.
it's, I posted something recently about, tournaments charging $20 per parent to go see your kid play in a game you already paid for. And, one of my really good friends, sent me a message privately and said, well, you chose that. You as a consumer didn't have to do that.
Right.
You did it. I'm like, yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I did it. It's just that, where is it when you can, where is it where you could buck the rest of the system and still try to hope that your kids have success? And the only issue, well, not the only issue, but the big issue I have is this is becoming an epidemic earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. I mean, we're seeing U18 team, 2018 teams right now, having this type of pressure. 2018. This
Yeah.
is we're recording this in 2023, by the way. So maybe the kid was born in 2018,
Yeah.
and you're having a
Well,
discussion
you're
about
five or
going to
six,
you're,
five or
you're,
6 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're having discussions on a regular basis about going to Detroit
That's
from,
yeah, that
from
that
New
is
York.
crazy. Again, if you're living outside Michigan, we should say.
Right.
It's weird. And again, this is why we want to have the discussion, because this splits, right, in a lot of different ways. Because again, when we say crazy hockey parent, I think people think the crazed maniac, right? But the truth is, we're all a little crazy if we're involved in this game at some point. And like, I always try and make myself vulnerable in these episodes with my own experience, and keeping in mind my kids are squirts and mites right now. So, again, I have played myself at the older age groups, but I'm experiencing this as a parent. And again, this show has been really great for keeping me on track, but I can tell you right now that I'm crazy about hockey. All right. Anybody who knows me knows that, right? Hockey, for lack of a better word, is a massive part of my life. Now, it's not the only thing in my life. It's not my priority in life. My priority is my family, my wife, my kids, so forth and so on. So I think that my gauge for it, and sharing my own experience, because when my kids first started, I had a lot of anxiety, more than I thought I would. For someone who's been in the game their whole life, I've really learned how to temper that and just remind myself that A, they're kids, B, that there is a process to this development that takes a long time. And I had to come to terms with the fact that I have all this knowledge I want to share with my own kids, but that doesn't mean they're ready to receive it. And I have to be very, very patient with that. That was really frustrating. But here's the deal. This is kind of my line. All right. I think that the connection you have with your children is the most important thing and the most important gauge, right? I think what's crazy to me, Mike, and again, this is another side of it, is that you're not even sure if your kids love this anymore, or they're just doing it because that's what you do as a family. All right. So it's very important to me that my kids know, I know that they're having a blast, like that this is really fun for them and they're enjoying it. That's the most important thing. If we lose that, I don't know what we're doing anymore. And that's the good and the bad. And what I mean is, like, it's kind of like a thumbs up, thumbs down. Are we into this? Are we still doing this? Or are we just doing it because we've been doing it? I think that's an important part of it for me, is keeping a gauge on that. Now, I would also say 85 to 90% of families would say, yeah, we're into it. We love it. It's something we do as a family. Then I think the next crazy thing is this imaginary, and Mike, I'm going to want you to touch on this imaginary competitive atmosphere of player versus player, and finding the right trainer and finding the right camp and finding the right showcase to showcase your kid or kids. To me, that's where it gets crazy, because amongst all the people I know that have really quote unquote made it, there is a lot of things that they do, but the truth is this: the kid is usually a tremendous athlete at every sport. It's not just hockey. They have an obsession with the game, both in love and their dedication of time to the game outside of their teams, right? And then on top of it, there's an aptitude, right? And unfortunately, there are very few kids that can get to that point. And that's okay. That's where I think the craziness comes in. It's okay, statistically speaking. Not many of our kids are going to make it farther than high school. That's okay. All right. And again, we've lost touch with that being okay. And that's where I find the crazy hockey parent comes in. And like you always say, everybody always, oh, that's not my kid. That's not my kid. And look, maybe it's not. Maybe your kid is the exception, but it's Mike and I have been watching this game a long time. There are very few exceptions. But I can tell you this: when there is one, you know, because the kid is a prodigy. I think what happens is sometimes we get lost in the "that's my kid" that's good, but we're not in touch with the "does my kid love this?" And do I have a good relationship with my kid? Right? Are my priorities pure? Am I putting the game ahead of school? Am I putting the game ahead of love? And I'm going to say that point blank. If you're putting the game ahead, showing love to your children, and we all show love in different ways, but you got to ask yourself that, do my kids know I love them? Don't assume because you're spending ridiculous amounts of money and driving them and doing everything that they know that. They're kids. Like, they're just kids. So again, Mike, we can go a lot of different directions with this, but to me, that's the gauge of craziness, is when you leave kind of the sanity of that relationship you have with your kids behind.
Yeah, but there's a lot to unpack there, right? Because you have so many different facets of what you're expecting out of the experience, right? And what's the term? If you crazy is doing the same thing over and over again, and
insanity,
expecting a different insanity and crazy,
yeah.
and then expecting a different result. I mean, and we do that. We see that every day, and I don't know how to say it any simpler, but the fact is, if the kid is going to make it, they're going to make it.
Right.
They are. If the love is there and the access is there and the financial resources are there for you to allow them to get the most out of training as they possibly want and can get out of it. You can't train a kid to be great. You could give a great kid an opportunity to train to get better, but you can't train a kid to go, well, I'm going to train this kid to be the best athlete. Well, no, they're either you can help them with certain aspects of their game, but it's just like math, it's just like science, just like anything else. Like if you can't do it, if your brain can't do it, they can't do it.
Right.
And again, now can you?
And that's okay. We got to keep reiterating.
Right,
that's absolutely fine.
But that's why we're all different. That's why we're all different, right?
Right.
I mean, if you can support it, we say the same thing about coaches when you're teaching, right? If you teach on the board, if you teach verbally, if you teach on the ice, if you teach on a piece of paper, if you teach just imaginary, like imagine this drill, like all these kids, and then you wonder why every kid doesn't understand the drill. Two do, two don't. Two are like, I think I understand it, I'm not sure. They're all learn in different ways. Our athletes are develop in different ways. If you have a great foundation athletically, now you can build on that, right? But if you're a parent that's forcing your kid, because you're crazy, you're crazed about, I invested this money, I put in the time, I want an ROI. Like there has to be, I can produce a player, I can squeeze this coal and make a diamond. Because I can do it. I have the financial resources, the time, and I have the parent, has the motivation to motivate my kid. Listen,
but it's not even about your kid at that point.
There might be certain kids that and we hear it in the NHL all the time. Kids that have players that have made it that hate it.
Right.
Like they literally say
hate their life.
I hate my life, but I made it. I made millions of dollars. I'm here. But don't ask me to ever talk to my family. Don't ask me to do stuff socially. Don't ask me to do things outside of what I currently, am required to do for work.
Yeah, Bobby Ryan is a great example of this, right? Bobby Ryan is an all-star NHLer who had major problems both in his life with his father.
Right, admittedly, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's very much opened up about that he was pressured beyond belief to make it. And he did make it. And look, there will always be the person that argues, yeah, but look what he got. And I'm the person who always says, but look what he lost.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people out there. Listen, I've grown up with players that their parents have, made them do 500 shots before they could go out and play or and they relatively made it. Like they played at a very high level. But my contention is, if that player would have done that on their own anyway, and found the time to motivate themselves, they're already good. They're already the best player on their team. They're already the best player in their age group. They're already the best player in their region. And what we've done now is creating these crazy hockey parents by actually thinking that we are the arbiters of talent, and that if
Right.
we build a AAA team, that all those kids now are AAA players, and then we build another and another and another and another. So where used to be where a region of 18 kids were the best, now it's a region of 68 kids that think they're the best.
Right.
And then there's a whole other area that thinks 150 of them are all the best, and then they're all are training the same way, the crazy way. And if you really wanted to produce a world-class athlete, you wouldn't travel most of the time. You wouldn't spend most of your time doing things that don't really enhance the team development.
Right.
And you'd be building a holistic athlete. You'd be building an athlete that could be injected into any category in life and be successful. And we've seen that most of the time, more so than not. Successful athletes that have great foundations are then successful in other things they do outside the game.
Everything they do. Yeah.
And
It's not their athletic ability that's making them successful. It's
right.
part
They
of
just
it.
happen to be gifted by God
Right.
to have an athletic ability. And you can't, we joke around, but it's true. You can't build size. You can't build heart. You can't build all these different things.
Well,
that are
and Mike, to be fair,
in.
you can't build genetics, right? You
No,
can't.
that's what I mean. You're genetically built to
Yeah.
perform. Now, can genetic freaks of nature compete with genetically inadequate players, because that player can be smarter, and we can and be can put themselves in a better situation, because there are great athletes. They're just not 6'3", 225 pounds. I mean, I look at some players, I'm like, how the hell did anybody ever play against this guy? Like you sit with NHL players, and you're like, how does anybody play against you? You're a monster. Like, how does anybody get around you? So, but other players, and then you got a Johnny Gaudreau or somebody like that.
Phil Kessel.
Phil Kessel that can play it at a very, very high level, right?
Yeah.
But I think when we talk about the crazy parent, we're talking about the parent that is giving up so much other things earlier and earlier and earlier in life. And listen, I'm not talking about 16-year-olds. I'm talking about 5,
6-year-olds,
9-year-olds
yeah.
that are doing the things. And especially what really, I think, breaks my heart the most is a lot of these dads and moms were really, really good players when they were young,
right.
And they forget they didn't do any of this stuff.
Right.
They played outside. They played multi-sports. They never played year-round. They never played 90 games a year. They never had a $650 wardrobe for the weekend for hockey. I mean,
nope.
That's what bothers me the most, is they forget what really gave them their inspiration, and that was the joy of playing and the love of playing and the love of being around your teammates. And now we're just plucking and picking kids and changing teams every 6 months and driving the one kid to succeed. And then ultimately, and not even statistically, this is not anecdotally, this is fact, that kid doesn't make it anyway.
Right.
All of that. Now, I see it all the time. Parents like, oh, well, I love the joy of being with my kid, and I think it's the greatest gift in the world that I'm able to do that. I'm like, bullshit. I said, just you could do the same thing by being at a family barbecue. You could do the same, you could get the same output by doing things in a more sane way that will still result in at the end of the day, it'll still result in your kid making it or not, or being a great high school player or not, or
right.
continuing to play through high school and adult league and men's league. And then they're 78 years old and they're still playing. They love the game. They're well adjusted. They're great business people. It's still going to happen. Right. But I think we look at the 1%ers. We look at the people and say, well, look what that person did. That person did this, 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 and this. I'm going to follow that path. I go, yeah, but you can't. Look at you. Like, you're not that person.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, Mike, I'll tell you this. I wrote, as normal, I wrote a bunch of notes. I think there's a few things. Again, we talked about the difference of parents today from yesteryear. We always kind of give the kids they had to deal with social media now. We didn't. Parents, we're dealing with social media too. And I think there's a lot of pressure there of posting, look what my kid did. Right. Which, again, I'm not telling any of you not to post proud dad or mom moments. Absolutely. But you got to note that pressure might be there. Also, the FOMO, which is, fear of missing out, that is way bigger than it has ever been, because there's so much more out there that if we don't do this or we don't do that, at this point in my kid's hockey journey, depending on the weekend, I'm okay missing for something else if we choose to. Right now, I'm not saying we'd tell our team to screw off or anything like that. But if an event, we had Kim Wright on last episode. She talks about it. She has 4 kids playing, and they're okay as a family missing a game for a family event. And I think that they're right on for that. Right? It depends on the game. They're not missing playoff games, right? But they prioritize the family. So I also wrote some other notes, Mike. I'm starting to write things like crazy is, like I'm starting to write things like that. So I wrote crazy is forcing your child to only identify through the game. That's crazy to me. Right now, I will admit fully that I did that. I identified only through the game until my mid-20s. And this is what's funny about it. My parents had nothing to do with that. I did that on my own. Right. So parents, like, your kids don't need your help with that. Right. So don't accelerate that. Don't amplify that. Make sure that they know there's things out there other than hockey. I wrote this: crazy is losing sight of life lessons, right? The wins and the losses and the adversity. And that I'm not saying everybody does this, but this, well, if I throw more money at it, I'll find a solution. That's not the point of youth sports at all. That's crazy to me, right? A big loss or not making a team or getting cut or a bad coach, any of that stuff, that's an opportunity as a parent to teach your kid how to be accountable, not an opportunity. This is what I think is crazy, to blame the team, to blame the coach only, right? Just to only put the blame on of, well, if you had a better coach, you'd play better. I never want to say that to my kid, ever. It's no, this is the situation we're in. It's unfortunate. How are we going to deal with this? That's the lesson. Freaks me out when parents lose sight of that.
Again, the crazy. So I don't know, and I probably don't even like the word crazy, because they're not crazy. They're I think this parent is saying crazy hockey parent, but it's just a really passionate person that, like, again, he's not the guy. I hope he's not the person grabbing the top of the glass and
Yeah, I don't
shaking
think
it.
that's him.
What's the video?
I
Hey,
don't think
thanks,
they listen to
Larry.
us. I don't think those
Thanks,
parents listen to
Larry.
our show.
Yeah, he doesn't. So he's not the guy throwing garbage cans across the rink. He's not the guy, knocking on the referee's door after a game, demanding an answer to why they, gave up, didn't call a penalty shot in their 8U cross ice game. I think it's just like it's the crazy. Those are crazy people. Like, those are crazy. Forget about hockey parents. I guarantee the same
They
people.
drive. All of them drive, and you know
Yeah,
exactly who they are on the road.
they're the same people that are ripping on a 13-year-old umpire, right? So I think that to me is not the definition of the crazy hockey parent, and I really don't think the crazy hockey parent can really be defined in one way. It's just when you listen, if you're defining yourself as crazy, then maybe you got to step back and say, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, what did I just do this weekend? Like, why did I join this again? And my kid's crying, doesn't want to come into the rink.
Yeah,
Like, they
that's
don't want to
freaky.
go to practice. They're missing too much school. They're not part of any other social events. But hockey is so any sport is demanding. I think hockey becomes more demanding because in most cases, unless you're in Minnesota or some parts of Massachusetts, and hockey is a travel sport. It's not soccer. It's not basketball. I literally right now I could be at a basketball court in about 8 minutes.
Yeah,
Soccer, I could be there in less than 8 minutes. Football, I could be there. Baseball, I could be there. These are 10-minute away. If I want to go to hockey, it's an hour, 45 minutes. It's and then I got to go there 3 or 4 times a week, right? So the sports are changing. The landscapes change so much that we're and I think the sport ultimately is shrinking. I know our numbers might look like they're getting bigger, but they're getting only bigger for kids that can afford it
right.
and kids that are willing to travel. But our sport is getting smaller. It's shrinking. It's less about community and more about development and making it and going to another the next level, which is so
Well,
odd
Mike, you're
to
talking
me.
about elitism. I mean,
Yeah,
and
and it's
that's
but
where we're
the
getting
sport
towards. Yeah,
itself is allowing that to happen. I mean, the governing
yeah.
body of the sport is allowing this to happen. They're not doing anything to combat this. So I think for the case of the crazy hockey parent, it then becomes, well, where can I, I don't know what the term is, like, fight back? Like, where can I change the trajectory and still feel like my kid can move on to the next level and still play at a higher level? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I'm part of the problem. I'm in this
Well,
right
I
now.
was gonna say, I think a lot of the answers, that's not up to us as parents. That's up to the kid to kind of
Right,
show
right.
what
But
they
if
have.
even if your kid said, listen, I just want to play with my friends and I want to play locally. There is no local options anymore. There
That's
are
true.
no pickup hockey. There's no like you go to pickup hockey at the rinks that I go to, and it's strewn with private lessons. Like there is no room for open hockey. It's
Right.
there's 18 instructors out there with 3 kids each. Your kid's not playing open hockey. They're literally it's structured. It's paid open ice for structured play. That's what it is. It's not
Well,
unstructured.
I'll tell you something. This might be refreshing to you. I'm volunteering this year to help my kids, both of them, elementary school team. Okay, so this is like a new territory for me. I never played hockey for my school till I was in high school. And I'd say half the team, maybe a little less than half, are really new to the game. They don't play club,
Right,
and it's funny. So we started practicing, and you can see there's a clear skill disparity between the club kids and the non-club kids, right?
right.
And you know what we did? It was really refreshing. We split them in half, and I worked with the beginner skaters, and we just did very basic skating drills and teaching them to skate. And I'm finding a lot of joy in that. Of wow, I'm really helping these kids experience the game. And remember, elementary hockey is, in hockey terms, it's a low cost option. Like it's not an arm and a leg to play for your school. Like that's one of the nice things about school, at least in Pennsylvania where I'm at.
Right.
And it's refreshing because now the task is on us as coaches to get these kids moving and incorporate them into the team. And we're already preaching to the team the importance, because you can see how this will go south if we don't, the importance of we're all on the same team. We got to take care of each other. So whether you're an experienced skater and double A player, which we have, or you just finished learn to play, we got to take care of each other. And I'm excited about this opportunity, especially as a team builder, because now I get to finally teach this. Great players make everyone around them better, right? And also the players that are not really experienced, you're part of a team. You get to be here. Now, again, this is probably a rarity, and it's again, this is also the realm that I work in, and I love to do it. I don't think it happens that much, but I want to tell you that because I'm seeing it, right? And that's different from what we're seeing in club. Now, club is not that. All right. So
Well,
uh
good clubs
yeah,
are. Good clubs are. Good clubs are finding ways to get your least talented player to feel like they're just as important as your most talented player.
I agree. And
And
again,
right. And so
that's the mission you and I are on, by the way,
right,
right?
but most club
Yeah.
teams are like, okay, how before April can I cut this kid? Like
Yeah, that's scary.
like I
That is
picked
really
them,
scary.
but how can I cut them? Like I'm not invested in making sure this kid's better. I'm invested in going find somebody that somebody else made somebody better.
As someone who works with coaches, that terrifies me. And again, look, I have to say this: there are scenarios where kids do need to be cut. Okay, it does happen. I'm not negating that for coaches, but also as a coach, I need to know. This is me personally. You can disagree with me out there. I need to know that I did everything I could to reincorporate that child and that family back into the team before cutting even crosses my mind. All right. I need to know that I've done everything I can think of, including speaking to the family about finding other options. If you're not willing to do that, I don't know what to say. All right. I'm going to say this one more time. There are scenarios where a kid or a family are so out of line that you got to do what you got to do. All right.
Yeah, or they're not invested in learning, and they're just not. There's just a kid
Right.
that maybe was an early bloomer. They probably did well when they were like mites and squirts and peewees, and then it becomes a time where like this person has no interest in getting no, not only not
Right.
getting better, but has no investment in their own
Well,
development.
hey, here's one for you. Right. Life mirroring hockey in a way, or the other way around. I was a professor for a while. It's a shock to many of you. And I had students at the end of the term saying, "No, I paid for this." Like their grade. Like I paid for this, so I should get a passing grade. And it's
Hey, you're
like
not passing me. I paid
that's
for it.
what they were saying. And it's like, man, A, not how life works. B, you're not paying for a grade. You're paying for the time and the education of the instructors and the people that put the time in to make this course.
Right.
That's what you're paying for, to be educated. And again, the audacity to say to someone that spent their time trying to teach you, well, I paid for this. You're seeing that in the game. No, but I paid for this. I paid to play. I paid to be here. You paid for development. You paid for team building. You paid for being part of a team. And again, this goes both ways. Parents think that way. Sometimes coaches think this way too. All right. And it's dangerous. Right. So look, getting back to the question that we were sent, because again, we can go all over the place. One of the things Tommy said here was, I find a lot of parents push very early because they're afraid of their kid getting behind. Now, this is where I'm going to compliment my own wife. My wife is my anchor. I love my wife very much. And she never played hockey. It was never in her life until she met me. And she really keeps me grounded. And she reminded me, especially the first few years, that like this is a process and that, you know, at the time, like he's 7, he's 8. You have to understand that. I remember, here's one for the crazy hockey parent. I remember really wondering a lot in the early years. I can't tell if they love it or not. I can't tell if they love it or not. I don't know. And I would even ask him, like, are you enjoying this? Like almost too much. And my wife reminded me, like, yo, give it some time, right? Like it might take them up 2 or 3 years. And here's I should also say this: they didn't hate it. They weren't saying I don't want to go, I don't want to go, right? But I did. I backed off, and sure enough, now that I've stopped asking that, you know what? They love it. So it's one of those things of don't fear. This is kind of the crazy hockey mindset. Don't fear your kid if he's enjoying it or not. They'll tell you if they're not, number one. If they're not enjoying it, they'll let you know. All right. And you got to note that. All right. But I really, I'm thankful for my wife because yeah, Lee, back off a little bit. And you know what it was, Mike? At the end of the day, I was fearful in a way that like, oh, it's going to be really a shame if they don't love this. I've always been okay if they didn't want to play. I'm speaking from the heart here. If they came up to me and said, I don't want to do this anymore, yeah, that's going to be okay with me. It might hurt a little bit, but that's fine. Like I've always had that mindset, but I didn't need to be like, are you liking it? Is it fun? Do you want to go back? Like I tell myself, like, Lee, shut up. Like, this is just what we're doing. We're driving here 2-3 times a week.
And you just said in the early years, but I think your kids are like 9.
No, they're 10 and 7, about to be 10 and 7.
That's what I mean. So in the early years, it's still the early years. I mean, it's like, you know, this is.
I should say the very early years. Yes, you're right. It is early. That's
but like that, point, I walk into people all the time, like at the supermarket, and like, oh, you know, so what does your kids do? What are they doing now? Like, oh, you know, my guy's playing hockey, blah blah blah. He goes, oh, you know, we always wish we would have done that. My son loves hockey. I wish he would have done that. I'm like, well, you know, he why didn't he? Well, he's already 9 years old, and you know, it's just so crazy. Hard to break into the. It's so hard to break into the sport. But then I look at her going, you know what? If I looked around, it is hard to break into the sport when you're 9 years old.
For sure.
Because there's just no recreational, like real hockey at 9. There just isn't. Maybe there are in pockets, and I'd love to hear like from an audience perspective.
I had
you are wrong, Mike. You know,
no, Mike, and this has changed. Now, this is a really interesting point, Mike, because where I started very late. I was 12. All right, and succeeded. To be fair, right? Yeah. Now, how is I played street hockey and roller hockey for 2 or 3 years prior to really getting on the ice, and I loved skating. It kind of all came together. I don't know how much street and roller hockey is being played in comparison to when I did it. Right? I know kids do go outside, but I mean that's all I did after school. There was no internet. There was no real stuff on TV. You know, at that time, like you didn't have a million channels. So like we went outside and played hockey. And I happened to live on a street where a lot of us did that. Also at the time I was playing in the Philadelphia area, hockey was exploding. So everybody wanted to do it. Right. But that's how you break in. Like you got to find a way to play somehow. Right. And again, this is to your point. Like we don't invest enough in these street programs, the floorball programs, like these fun ways. Anyone can pick up a stick outside and just mess around. I don't think we're doing that enough.
Yeah, but I'm even saying like the kid that now is playing hockey, right? And they say, well, you know what? I'm not on the A team. I'm not on the top team. And then the bottom team is, you know, I still got to go. Like, it's like this is where I think crazy is defined in youth hockey. Is if you're 10 years old and you're on the AAA team and you made that team, great. And they're, listen, I watched 10-year-old hockey games. They look like pros. I mean, they're unbelievable hockey.
Oh,
like
they're very
really
talented.
Just doing things that you're like, this is unbelievable. Then the problem is the second and third level player, team is trying to do the same things that team's doing without and foregoing development, foregoing fun, foregoing the opportunity to bridge the gap. They don't do it. They keep doing what that team's already doing. Well, if you continue to do what that team's doing, which doesn't practice very often and doesn't, isn't doing because they're already better, you need to do something completely different to get better. Right. You can't just go play the same amount of games and don't practice. So I think what happens is that's where the craziness comes in. Like, well, we want to play 60 games too. No. What you should be doing is actually playing 20 games and 60 practices, right. and making it so much fun that they want to, and they will, they will surpass that group. They will. It's just you've got to put them in the right environment to succeed. And we don't. We want to make everybody the same. And
Yeah.
when that happens, and you're that parent of the kid that's younger, then you have to understand, or not, that's not as talented in that time frame. You need to understand that in order to bridge the gap, you need to do something different, and we don't.
Mike, it's unbelievably fantastic points. And I think the other part of it, just to add on to that, is that you got to teach kids how to learn and how to self-learn, right? And if you're striving to be at a level you're not at yet, you're teaching them to fail, right? So, and again, like just going back to the elementary school team, I'm excited to help these beginner players on this team. Like I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of people are like, oh, that AAA player, I want to work with him. I mean, look, I want to work with AAA players too, and there's some that I do. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just as excited about the kid that doesn't even have the team jersey yet because he's still in his learn to play jersey. Like I just love sharing the game in that way, and again, I think that has to expand from a coaching standpoint. But
And
yeah,
if you've seen it for right, it's easy to pick the most talented kids out of a pool and take them and play with them.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
take the other kids and make them better.
Right.
It's easy to take the best kids and say, "Whoa, they're the best kids. Clearly, the best kids."
Yeah.
So take them. It's so much harder than to take the kids that need the best coaching,
Right.
and then develop them. And I think a lot of us, the best coaches are sometimes lazy because they don't want to be the best coaches. They just want to coach the best players.
Right. And again, I'll talk about our friends in Scandinavia who they pay their best coaches to teach the beginners on purpose. Right. It's a very different model over there. But yeah, like I agree with you. Look, if you're the coach of a great team, a great AAA high level team, great. That's fantastic. Right. But it shouldn't change how you coach. Right. Like, and here the evolution of a coach too, Mike. And I find this the older I get, when I was young, I was very focused. Got to coach the highest level possible. Got to win the biggest tournaments possible. When I was in my 20s, which I think is normal for a newer coach. Like you want that. You're trying to prove yourself. But the older I get, the less it's about that, and it's more about the people, the players. No matter what the age, whether I am working with professional college kids all the way down to mites, I generally care about these people and as people and making them good people. And I think that from a parent standpoint, we can't lose sight of that either, right? Like I'm very focused on my kids being the best people they can be. That in our family we help other people. Let me give a proud dad moment. This is the forum to do that. So, and you'll laugh at this because this is also my evolution as a person, as a dad. I walked in the locker room between games yesterday. We had a showcase yesterday, like one of those tournaments to see where you stand. It was parody tournament, not a showcase. Excuse me.
Parody.
I walk in the locker room, and there's my son with my whiteboard showing one of the new players all of these plays. And I just kind of saw him. I was watching him, and my first thing to do was like to say something. And you know what I did? This is me learning. I just shut my mouth and I left the room. And I was so proud of him. I'm like, wow, he's helping another person. Like that. Right. That's what he's doing with his time off right now. And I'm not knocking any of the other kids at all that were out playing. Nothing. I was just very proud that that's how he chose to spend his time in that moment.
Right.
To me, that means that, hey, we're doing something right. I got to say this one more time. That's not a judgment on any of the other kids. I hope nobody takes it that way. Right, kids, because the kids.
Well, your son probably has a little more confidence. He probably has a little more confidence to do it too, because he
also watches me do it all the time.
Yeah. Right. He's almost like mirroring you. Like he's not like a lot of kids don't have that. They go home and dad's not writing on the whiteboard and watching video and talking hockey. And because my little guy does the same thing. Like he'll draw plays like on Coach Them, like as for awesome. Fun, just on the iPad. You're like, what do you think about this?
After my own heart.
I'm like, that's actually a pretty good drill. That's pretty good. I got 40-year-olds that can't do that. So I think it's like, just thinking about, well, I like where this guy's going, who's going there, and thinking the game. Now, he's not an elite hockey player at all, but he loves hockey. So am I, going back to the premise, right? Am I a crazy hockey dad? I am. Yes, by definition, I'm crazy about hockey. And I want to, and I'm in the sport, and I'm in the throes of what this all is.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. There's certain things I wouldn't sacrifice for a game or a practice or a training session. Just I wouldn't.
Right.
Do I bend my own feeling about like they could, he could miss school for a half a day on a Friday, or if he wants to sleep in a little bit after a crazy, after a late practice, I'll drive him to school. Like, do I do that stuff? Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
I don't think that
But
makes it crazy though, Mike.
well, but
Yeah.
for people outside the sport, it does make you crazy, and I think
I
that's why
don't
this parent.
know. I
I think
mean,
that's why this parent sees it as when we're in
yeah.
our own little bubble of hockey, we all look at each other like, no, we're all normal.
Yeah,
But
we're not.
we're not, and I think it's not a normal thing to
Yeah.
miss events. I don't mean big events. I don't mean grandma's 98th birthday. I mean like you miss a school dance, or you miss the harvest festival, or you miss like for hockey. Like just a lot of people, like they don't have all those other things going on. Like they don't have all this other stuff. Hockey fills the vacuum of time.
It does. Yeah.
And people that have time because they don't do a sport like hockey don't understand how you don't have time.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you this though, within that, the other side of that is the hockey community that we're all part of, that which, as you know, and you've said many times, is a wonderful community to be a part of. When you find the right people, and we all understand each other. I think when it becomes a problem is when anyone, this is crazy, right? If you take an elitist approach of, oh, well, we play hockey, that like Mike, you're speaking a lot of sense right now. Like other people outside the game don't see this, they don't understand this, and there are some other sports that are somewhat similar, and they'll say the same thing, like, oh, you don't understand. Well, yeah, you don't understand what you don't do. But I think when you might look down on other families, or kind of have the no, we have hockey, that's when you're
Yeah,
becoming crazy.
but like my wife, she was at an event and with non-hockey parents. They're like, wait a minute. So you're telling me your kid graduates high school, doesn't go to college if he wants to be a college hockey player, then will play 2 to 3 years of junior hockey
It
and
is
not go to
crazy.
school.
Yeah.
And then after that, they might not even go to a school that has hockey and then start their college education, depending on if those 3 years, those gap years,
Yeah.
got them an opportunity to play at,
Well, okay. I'm
at
going
a
to disagree with you
non-scholarship.
here because I actually think this is one of the things that's good. And I'll tell you why. All right. Because I think crazy is society stating nowadays you have to go to college after your senior
Well,
year. I think that's crazy. If a kid is not ready, look, this
right.
is how I say it. And again, I'm speaking as a former professor here. I am qualifying this. Okay.
Yeah.
If you know what you want to study, or you have an idea of what you want to study, college is probably a good option. With your kid understanding that if they go to college and hate what they're studying, even if they thought that's what they wanted to do, it's okay to change it. Right? It's always okay to change a major to find what you want to do. You're going to be doing this most of your life. You should find the right thing. If
Yeah.
your kid has no clue what they want to do after high school, you should reassess and think. You do not have to go spend money, ridiculous money, just like hockey, to go to college to get your liberal arts degree or your prerequisites out of the way. Maybe they should go work for a year. Maybe they should go
Yeah,
find
yeah,
something
and
else to
again,
do.
that wasn't really so. My point was, if it's just hockey, if it's only you're
Right.
only staying out of school because of hockey, and you're able to go, you know exactly what you want to be. You want to be an engineer. I know
Sure.
exactly what I want to do, but the only way I'm going to go be an engineer at the school I want to go to is if I can play hockey. Okay, well then you can't spend 3 years and then not go to a school, and then you end up going to a school that doesn't have engineering.
Yeah,
Because the
that's
only
weird
school
too.
you got into
That's
because
crazy. You're
hockey,
right.
because hockey
Yeah.
was your vehicle to do it, and then you graduate. It's like, I really wanted to be an engineer, but I just spent 4 years playing at a
Well, and this is
art
where
school.
parents play into it.
And again,
You
that's a
got to
whole
help
other,
guide your kid the right way. I mean,
Halen. That's another episode. But we'll have to. So I think it's, but I think it's
yeah.
just a matter of saying, where so. Where is the evolution of the crazy hockey parent? Is it at 9? Is it at 12? Is it at 18? Is it at 21? And you're still I'm going to push,
Yeah.
push, 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 push. And, again, I think, listen, I've been in those situations a lot, right there. That I have to self-reflect and then really make an impact and say to even the athletes that I advise or work with, like, where is the line here? And what can we discuss to make sure that, you make the decision that's best for you as a student athlete, and it can't be just about mom and dad. And that's a hard discussion, because at the end of the day, the kids know what mom and dad want. So it's very hard for them to go against
True.
what they think their parents want them to think. I get that.
So, Mike, I'm gonna turn into a journalist for a second. I'm gonna probably end the episode on this line of questioning towards you, okay? Because you're making me realize a few things. You started the episode by saying, "I am a crazy hockey parent. I am a crazy hockey parent."
Yeah.
And I'm realizing something. I don't think you are, and I'm gonna prove it. All right. One, because I refuse to think that I'm doing a show with a crazy hockey. No, no. I think the hockey environment is crazy. That doesn't make you crazy. Now, I think a crazy hockey parent is someone who exists in that crazy hockey atmosphere and has completely lost touch with why they're here. And what I mean by losing touch is making it is all that matters, or doing everything I can to help my kid make it. However you justify that thought, I think that makes you crazy if you're not in touch with your kid. Now, Mike, for your own reasoning, and again, this is the journalist. It's you say you're a crazy hockey parent, so why do you do it? Now, before you answer that, I've been writing down some of the language you've been using to describe yourself. Again, I'm a journalist. All right. You have said things like, I self-reflect a lot. I'm conscious. I think about this a lot. Every once in a while, I have to stop and think about, why am I doing this? That line of thinking, I mean, you host a show about this. All right. That line of thinking leads me to believe you're not a crazy hockey parent. You're just navigating the crazy hockey environment. All right. Because, it's easy to say, well, you could choose to stop whenever you want. No, you can't. Your kids love it. Your kids love it. Right. I don't think a lot of people are conscious or self-reflect like you just said. I think you're busy in your day-to-day life. And I'm not judging anybody with this. There's actually a lot of curiosity here. You're very busy. You probably don't take too much time on yourself, right? In terms of just relaxing or taking a moment for yourself, and you don't self-reflect. It's very easy to fall into a trap. It's insanely easy to fall into this trap where making it or pushing or spending a lot of money and doing everything crazy so your kid will, quote unquote, make it, you could fall into that really easily. And Mike, I don't think you're in that trap. Okay. Again, I think you're navigating the crazy hockey environment. But why do you think you're crazy? And if you still think you're crazy after I said all that, how do you stop?
I was late for a game the other day, and I literally went through a red light on purpose, got pulled over.
That's just the New York in you, man.
And tried to justify tried to justify to the police officer who was screaming at me across the intersection. Yeah. What the hell are you doing? I'm like, listen, I thought I could beat the light. I'm really late. I said, now I'm even later. It didn't give me a ticket. Thank you, Connecticut State Police. But I think it's like,
he didn't give you a ticket for running a red light?
No, I talked my way out of it, but I think it's like,
that's great.
Plus I have a very clean driving record. You could see right away. They know
Fair
I don't.
Enough. Fair enough.
But
maybe you are crazy, Mike.
And I put my hands on, and so yes, so yeah, like a sane person would say, man, just wait for the light. There's no reason. There's no reason.
That's not limited to hockey, dude. People do that all the time.
I'm just using that. I was just trying. Like I said, it wasn't that big a deal. And
everybody on the East Coast is a moron when they drive.
And I would have beat that anyway. I would have beat that in court. But I think it's like so. So I think I don't think I am crazy about hockey. I do love hockey. Yes. I love the sport.
I am too.
I like all the aspects of the sport. I like the competition. I
love it.
Life
I'm
lessons.
in love with the game.
I like all that, and I love sport. By the way, I mean I like anything. Like if you could put me in a tennis environment, in a not so much golf. I don't like golf, but if you put me in those environments that I can have success and teach and be taught and compete and win and lose and cry and embrace your teammates. That stuff I love. I love that. I love watching players struggle and then succeed. I love watching players feel like their coach hates them and then knows that their coach loves them. I love those aspects. I love about the sport, and I'm crazy about being a part of that.
Right. I love that.
But I think to the point where I look at parents and I'm like, are you really sacrificing? Like, are you really going to send your ninth grader to a place that only does hockey all day, all night, and that's all they do? Like, and that's all they're part of. Like they have no other aspect of their life. Like you're going to bank on the fact that in 4 years you're going to produce a multi-million-dollar contract for this kid, because that's how people think. And if they say they don't think that way, then why are you doing it? Like there's no other reason to do it. Like, so that's where I know I'm not crazy. Do I think I'm giving my kids the best opportunity for success? I do. But do other people in our world think that's the way to go? No, they think it's a different way. And I'm like, well, you've never been around 5,000 athletes like I have. Like you haven't seen where kids are in this age group and where they become. You haven't experienced the superstar 8, 9, and 10-year-old that is never playing hockey at 14 years old. Like and I don't blame you for that. I'm just trying to help you with this.
Right.
Going back to the tooth, right? I'm trying to help you by not making the same mistakes and doing the same things and navigating the sport in a little different way. If I navigated the sport in a different way when I was, 20 years old, I would have known that, well, all the stuff I'm doing right now doesn't really matter, and it's going to affect me when I'm older. If I play with a broken wrist when I'm 14 years old and play through the pain, that's going to affect me when I'm 45. I'm not going to be able to move my wrist. Or if I'm playing with on a bad groin and I push through it because I'm on an elite hockey team and my team really needs me at 9, I'm like, they don't need you. They don't really need you. You need to heal. You need to get better. You need to the same thing when you hear parents say, well, to be the best, you got to play the best. Well, not if you never touch the puck. If you never touch the puck, you can't get better. Right, that playing the
you
best
should aspire to get there, but yes, you're right.
Right, but you can't. Yeah. But I'm saying then you got to close the gap. You can't play the best to be the best if you don't get to participate in being the best. Right. Now I could play the medium if I'm the low and at least compete and then learn to beat them and then move up the ladder. So there's all kinds of aspects of what the crazy hockey parent is. But I think ultimately it becomes if you're going to sacrifice, your kid's health, their well-being, their time, their love, if you're going to sacrifice all those things, then yes, you have gone to the realm of crazy hockey parent. If you're crazy about hockey and you're giving your kids the best opportunity in the sport that you love and clearly they love, then you're just being a great parent. And the extremes of that are only there because the sport has now evolved to make us be in those extremes. It evolves a hard word, by the way, when you have big gap in your mouth. But I think it's but I just think it's really important for the parents that are in the same boat to support each other and fight not to go down that route. Be united in your craziness, but then know where to know where to put the cork in it.
Mike, two things. One is I think I successfully Miyagi'd you into proving you're not a crazy hockey parent just there, because you gave a really good justification with that tooth missing. So number one, great job. I wrote down this note, and we'll kind of end on this, right? I wrote, it takes a village. Yeah. Right. And I think we're losing sight of that, not just in hockey. I think that's a societal problem. Keeping my kind of bookend going here with the college thing, going to university in the past, the far past, wasn't about getting a piece of paper with your name on it. It was about furthering a science or an art, right? You went to college to further the study of something, to be part of something that was going to evolve, right? It takes a village. You and I approach the game, and many of you listening, by the way, we approach the game of, let's take this village and evolve these kids to be better versions of themselves. As Mike said, if you're losing sight of that at any point, you're crazy. You're crazy. Like, you're literally crazy, right? I also think we've uncovered in this episode that there is a huge difference between being a crazy hockey parent and understanding you're in a crazy sports environment. The hockey environment is crazy. What we do in this environment is insane when you compare it to other sports, other activities, right? You don't hear about the crazy band environment, where we travel all over the country to do concerts. It doesn't happen. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong out there. All right,
you are wrong, but again, but that's because I was with a crazy hockey mom, crazy band mom.
So there you go. It's not just limited to hockey. Wow.
No, but it's any extreme.
Note to self: do not let kid get in the band. I'm just kidding.
It's any extreme. It's any point where you're like, this is the ticket, and you're 8.
Yeah.
Like, this is the ticket. Like, yes, if you're the best 16-year-old, maybe going to Europe and playing for 2 years is the best thing. Maybe leaving your family and moving to the BCHL is the best thing. If you're Connor Bedard, maybe it's clearly out there that you're the best player in your group.
Yeah.
But it's what about all the kids? There's all these other kids stuck in here, and you think that the kid that's the third line player on your subpar team is the one not getting the shot? Come on. I mean, just coaches want your kids to succeed. Hockey programs want the best kids to move on and take credit for them. You don't think that they're going to try to find you the best environment to be successful? Again, are there outliers? And we're not talking to there are outliers. There are kids that, that can do that do everything they can to be a hockey player, to be a great band person, to be the best cellist, to be the best chess player. There are extremes, no doubt about it. But I think overall, and you have to do this as you're a parent, you got to look at it and say, okay, well, does my kid really, is he gifted? And is he self-motivated? Is like, am I waking up in the morning and the kid is, out in the driveway shooting pucks on his own? Are they studying the game on their own? Right. Are they begging to go to here and there and there? If you're the one begging them, for the most part, it's
that's crazy.
Crazy. You're crazy.
That's crazy.
Right.
This has been a really fantastic discussion. I'm sure those of you listening have thoughts on this. Please email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or comment on our Facebook page, Our Kids Play Hockey. To our audience, I always say, all the episodes are available. I'm not going to say that because you guys listen to all the episodes. What I am going to ask you to do today is share this episode, or share any episode you want with your team, with your friends. Share it with people that need to hear it. And if you have the guts, share this episode with a crazy hockey parent. Maybe try and do it anonymously, but share it because that helps our audience grow. You are the greatest audience I've ever worked with. I am so blown away by the support and the sharing of stories. I think just the simple fact, Mike, that, you realize, wow, I'm not alone on this journey. Like, a lot of other people and a lot of other families are going through this. And we're so thankful to have had the opportunity to continue to share those stories with you and create this community, which grows every single day. So thank you all. Again, share the episode. For Mike, I'm Lee. This has been Our Kids Play Hockey. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you at the rink. Take care, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.